Any other questions on this? Yeah.
It is not question, but result-based advocacy is good to discuss about this, but when you speak with the community people, as John said before, you have to start with participatory advocacy in the community to change the power relation within the community first. Then you have evidence base to go up. Without changing or developing what is called community-based participatory advocacy, you will not find this loud voice to help you in reaching the high level.
Marcus, have you got any comments on that?
I mean, that sounds sensible. I mean, yeah.
Sorry, just in relation to.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the objectives of the views from the front line, one of the outcomes of the views from the front line, was this increased critical awareness, I think was the wording that we used, that we believe that the process was as important as the actual data gathered, and that by going through the process with these different actors would help raise the level of critical awareness, which is all part of this participatory advocacy, this public advocacy, if you like. It's creating effective demand. You know, our kind of thinking was that actually we're not going to build resilience at the local level through some benevolent sort of governments, really. That actually there's got to be real active citizenry at the local level to pull this down, as much as the advocacy work to try to push it down at the top. So there was a push-pull effect, if you like. So that, yeah.
And I think it is represented in the participation function as well. This idea that actually drawing in on local capacities and actually bringing their views to the forefront, and not have them participate in your work as a network, but actually identify what are the key issues that they are facing and the things that they need to change in their own setup. I want to move us on now to a self-assessment function, which is...
On this knowledge aspect, and I think it's come out in all our discussion, there's an action aspect, which in the Iranian context we use the term innovative experimentation through model building on the ground. And it's not the network itself as such, but through its membership. And we were talking about the AAA approach and assessment, analysis, action, building new models. Would that fit in, or?
I think there's the relationship between knowledge generation and capacity building where that comes in, really. So it's about how you use that knowledge to be able to question the way that you're doing things and to enhance capacity through, as you say, field-based experimentation is really important. And I think it would be a kind of combination of those two areas.
So I just want to follow on, because I think Baka has raised quite an interesting point. And just from the discussions yesterday, there was this feeling that we had some kind of responsibility to do some kind of action at the local level. I remember that phrase being used in the flip chart presentations. And just as Marcus was presenting that, I was quickly reading through the details of these 6 functions. I'm not sure at the moment whether there's enough in this area, in terms of the area of actual concrete implementation at the local level for everybody to be comfortable. But I was reading really quickly, so I may not have seen it all.
Okay, this has come out a couple of times over the course of the last couple of days, and I guess the thing I'm struggling a bit in my own mind is, where do we draw the boundaries as to what the global network does and what is the functional advantage of a global network, and where does the responsibility come in for national actors to actually be responsible for direct implementation action? Because I'm not sure that's the functional advantage of a network per se. I absolutely agree it's a responsibility of members within the network, but it's, where's the boundary there between what we can do as a collective and what is also a responsibility for the individuals within the network? So I'm not quite sure where those boundaries are. So,
yeah, and I think this is a challenge. A lot of people, a lot of donors won't fund networks because they say they're too much net and not enough work. This is a challenge. You can just have lots of meetings and collaborate and talk about things. If it doesn't change what you do on a day-to-day basis, then it's questionable what its value is. And I think that's something that you should all be asking yourself as network members. How am I using the network in my day-to-day activities? This network is nothing if it doesn't speak to your day-to-day work. And certainly the value and the test of a network should be, are you using it? Are you using the ideas? Are you using the people? Are you using the approaches that are coming out of the network to inform your day-to-day work? And is your day-to-day work feeding back into the network? And I think that dynamic interaction has to be there. Otherwise, it's not really a network. It's just a net. I want to move us on now, and I think we've had a useful discussion there. I hope we've had a useful discussion. I want to move us on now to doing a little bit of self-assessment of the network. And this is really as a preliminary to what I know a lot of you have been really aching to get at, which is talking about the strategy for the network going forward. What are the things we should be doing? What are the things we could be doing? How do we decide what we could be doing as a collective when we've got so many differences of opinion? And what I want to do is get you thinking about a priority setting exercise. And it is in line with these broad functions that we've got laid out here. And you should all have on your tables a sheet that looks something like this, or something like that. It's got essentially four levels, four things that we can look at. We want to look at the network either at the global level, either at the national level, or at the local level. And what we'd like you to do on your tables is to choose the level that you most want to talk about. And then what I want you to do is to look across these different functions and use as a support reference the list which Marcus has waved in front of you already, the list of activities. And reflect on how well you think the network has done at the national, let's say if you choose the national level, how well it's done knowledge generation and management so far. And score that from 1 to 5. So 1 if you think it's very weak collectively, 5 if you think it's been very strong collectively. And go all the way across and score the chosen level for all of the different functions, based on your own experience and your ideas. So a really important point here will be surfacing and trying to resolve differences in opinion. And I want you to do that. I don't want you just to choose 3 because one of you thinks 5 and one of you thinks 1. I want you to really get into why someone thinks at the global level you've been really good at policy advocacy but less good at capacity building. And try and work those things out. And just go through and, as I say, give a score from 1 to 5 in each box going across for the level that you've chosen on your tables. Now, if you manage to do more than 1, then you'd be welcome to move on to the next one.